international rallying. To the spectator, it offers speed and excitement, but for manufacturers, it provides much more, an unrivaled testing ground. The peak of rally car development under the Group B rules lasted 2 brief years, but the spectacle that those cars provided will live on long after their demise. The speed of development in modern rallying is ferocious. Systems that the ultimate yesterday are outdated by today. The manufacturers pour time, money and manpower into the search for newer, for better, for faster and stronger technology. The Group B cars were as much mobile, high-tech test beds as they were sporting machines. Prototypes, if you like, for developing many of the new systems now seen in road cars. While Ford, Lancia, Peugeot and Austin Rover designed and built their cars from scratch specifically for the job, Audi's Quattro Sport was designed for rallying from a road car. Based on the original Quattro, which totally changed the face of rallying when it first appeared, the Quattro Sport was a no-holds-barred development, engineered to bring road car four-wheel drive to the peak of the sport. The most significant change was to the engine. The road car's 5-cylinder turbocharged unit, radically revised, producing more than 500 brake horsepower. Former world champion Walter Röhrl was chosen by Audi to spearhead the Quattro Sport attack, and the German superstar took to the car immediately. It's a real thrill, he said, driving a car like this. It's my task to adapt myself to the car, not to have the car adapted to fit me. The car can develop incredible speed, so I have to be prepared to slow down in time. The technical possibilities offered by the factory are absolutely critical in the development, because it's only by using all these facilities that we can develop tomorrow's production cars, especially where economy and safety are concerned. It's very hard to explain to a layman just what you feel when you're in control of a car like this. It's like the teetotaler who will never be able to understand what a glorious feeling it can be to get just a little bit drunk. He'll never be able to understand because he's never experienced it. He's more likely to frown upon somebody who's slightly under the influence. I can't tell you how fabulous it is to feel the kick that you get from driving a car like this. Most people would probably say that I'm just a maniac. Let's take acceleration as an example. To reach third gear, that's starting in first, through second to third, takes just 2 seconds in this car. In that short time, I can't afford to check the rev counter. I have to feel what the car's doing. The moment the needle moves towards 8,000 revs, it's too late. It'll already be well past by the time you notice. To increase the speed by just 400 revs, I only have to move the throttle 5 millimeters, for instance. So when I come out of a bend and the car leaps from 80 to 100 miles an hour in just a fraction of a second, you can only really compare it to a small explosion. It's like being in a rocket.
Also es ist wie eine Explosion, so wie eine Raketen wahrscheinlich startet. So muss man sich das vorstellen. Das hat nichts mit normaler Beschleunigung zu tun.
It's really got nothing at all to do with ordinary acceleration. Everything happens so fast. Changing gear, acceleration, braking, it's like a madhouse.
Und dann bei großen Geschwindigkeiten.
And then there's the high speed as well. That's a really major factor in driving the car. The car reaches top speed in 6th gear. When I'm doing 180 and I push the throttle to go up to 200, then it's just like going from 30 to 40 in an ordinary car. You're pushed right back in the seat. It's really difficult to control, like a herd of wild horses or something. But it's an unbelievable feeling.
Und das ist also wirklich wie so ein Ritt auf einem Feuerball, so kommt man das vor. Weil das sind schon Gefühle, da wo du sagst,
one day, perhaps in 10 or 20 years, the way things are going at the moment, when we all have to drive our cars carefully, one behind the other, as if they're on rails, then people will remember these mad years, and I'll count myself very lucky to have been part of all this madness.
Je verrückter, umso toller ist es, gell?
When the moon was full and the people were jamming everywhere, I feel with fun from head to toe. Even the chicks were out looking to score. What can you do in such an atmosphere? Stretch your legs, move and shake your beer to the record spin on the DJ's box. So do a good sound, make your body rock. So you feel the juice, gotta get loose and shake your body. Feel the goose, so you feel the goose. Gotta get loose and move your body. Feel the said, look here, look there, pop, and people they pop everywhere. As the party grew into the early light rock, the people were just getting right. They all danced with the joy of being alive in spite of so much deceiving jive that brings this world to its end with sturdy plays, talking friends. So feel the groove, it makes you free. Come along, this one's on me. So you feel the goose, gotta get loose and move your body. Feel the juice, I said you feel the goose. Gotta get loose and move your body and feel the juice and dance. And you jam. If I say stop, then stop. Don't stop. Come on. Then you dance and you jam. If I say stop, then stop. Come on, oh, come on, oh, come on. Look here, look there, party, they pop everywhere. Say, look here, look there, party, they pop everywhere.
Rallying attracts fans in their millions. And it's more than just a passing interest for these people, they're real fanatics for the sport. They don't just come if the rally's in town, they travel great distances in all weathers just for a glimpse of their heroes. And among those heroes, there are no prima donnas either. For rallying, it's just like one big family. The crowd can always see and always talk to the big stars. The big events draw crowds of more than 1 million people each, and the interest still grows as word spreads of the exploits of these stars, of men and of machines. The Group B cars offered perhaps the biggest challenge to engineer and to driver alike. For the driver, the mere task of keeping the kicking, bucking, roaring machine under control often seemed enough. For the engineer, the rewards were in finding a few extra horsepower here, shedding a few surplus pounds there, improving a suspect component perhaps. But the biggest reward awaited the spectators. The chance to see some of the finest drivers in the world giving their all to some of the most spectacular machinery ever dreamt of.
Taxi! Taxi! Hiya! Taxi! Hiya! Hiya!
full, but no one's going home. Thousands upon thousands of fans jam the famous Col de Torini on the Monte Carlo rally, spending more than 24 hours on the freezing mountainside just to see their heroes pass twice. A visit to the bars keeps them warm, and the atmosphere is electric. There's just nowhere like it. Driving the Group B cars was a thrill that few experienced, but it wasn't an undertaking to be taken lightly. The basic problem, Walter All explains, was just not being able to think fast enough for the car. Drivers had to sit down and prepare themselves beforehand, thinking themselves through the car. If they waited for things to happen, they were immediately lost with these cars. Preparation, intuition and experience played a major part. In the old days, you could really feel the car breaking away. If you waited for that in a Group B car, you're already too late to catch it. You'd be off the road before you knew it. You had to act before you felt anything, because if you didn't, it might be the last time you felt anything at all. Compare it with skiing. What the average skier wants is a moderate slope and good snow. Then he can do all his big sweeping turns undisturbed by anyone, and he runs no risk at all. That's like rallying before the Group B cars. An expert skier, on the other hand, wants a severe slope with patches of ice and other obstacles, a real challenge. To him, that's what skiing's all about. In the old days, rallying was nice enough, but it was nothing like driving the Group B cars. With them, you were always under enormous pressure. You really had to fight the car. Driving was so much more exciting, but at the end of an event, when I used to look back at all the dangers, I'd often think I must be stark raving mad. But despite all that, driving those cars was fantastic, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Walter All still regards Group B rallying as the ultimate challenge, the feeling of controlling all that raw power and speed unmatched anywhere else. Sit back then and enjoy the master doing what he loves best.
à la Peugeot.
Peugeot's World Championship winning 205 Turbo 16 is a classic example of the Group B rally car. The appearance of the 205 and cars like it heralded a whole new era of rally car production. Until the early 80s, a good rally car was basically the sensible development of a good road car, adapted to meet the requirements of rallying. But all that was about to change. Peugeot's rally heritage stretches back a long way. Its 403s, 404s and 504s were models of reliability, giving the company a good recent grounding of success, particularly in endurance events like Africa's Safari Rally. But the arrival of the 205 Turbo 16 brought Peugeot bang up to date into the high-tech world of Group B. And to control these supercars, super drivers like Ari Vatanen, winner of the 1985 Monte Carlo and Swedish rallies. Victory on the Monte never comes easily. In 1985, Ari found himself up against the toughest opposition from Audi's Sport Quattros and from Lancia's 037 rallies. Throughout the changeable conditions, it was Vatanen and British co-driver Terry Harriman, though, who triumphed, taking one of the most rewarding wins of Ari's career. In the snow and ice of Sweden, Ari took his second victory of the year. But again, only after the toughest of battles against the strongest of opposition. Corsica, hot, dry, twisty tarmac, worlds apart from Sweden and the Monte. The 205 Turbo 16 was a year old, and in order to celebrate its birthday, local hero Bruno Sabi debuted the even faster, even more powerful Evolution 2 version of the car. Sabi's task was a tough one, to bring the new car home to a top finish and in one piece on one of the toughest rallies in the championship. But the Frenchman managed brilliantly, opening the floodgates for a host of Peugeot wins. Even with the right car and the right drivers, success is impossible unless you have the right backup. And service crews in Group B days assumed an importance as never before. Peugeot team boss Jean Todt assembled a fine crew, men experienced enough to repair and fine-tune a top-flight supercar in the worst of roadside conditions, under tight time restriction. As much as the drivers and co-drivers, it was these men who won events with the 205, helping Peugeot to take the Manufacturers' World Championship and Timo Salonen to take the driver's crown. Peugeot's constant schedule of testing and competing was echoed by all the other teams. The pace of Group B car development was unrelenting, and the toughest locations were sought out to try the cars, hoping to find weak links to prove new parts fit for service. Once more, the team's depth of African experience was called into play. Along with the Monte Carlo rally, the East African Safari remains one of the great names in rallying, and Peugeot, keen to continue its long history of success on the event, pursued a relentless testing schedule. Close cooperation between the drivers and the engineers paid dividends. Lessons learned on the punishing African roads were passed on, experience to be put into practice in other cars on other events later on in the calendar. Peugeot's commitment to Group B, its ferocious speed of development and ability to adapt to changing conditions earned the manufacturer's title again in 1986. In the 2 short, spectacular years of Group B supercars, perhaps the Peugeot 205 was the one that shone brightest. Rallying's growth from its production base to an all-out technological battle in the early 80s marked a changing point in the sport, moving it once and for all into the full glare of the world media spotlight and raising the stakes for drivers and manufacturers alike. As the Group B era dawned, Lancia's 037 Rally was at the forefront of the sport. A superb, uncompromising design, the sleek racer was every inch a worthy successor to the fabulous mid-engine Stratos of the late 70s. In 1983, Martini Lancia had taken the world manufacturer's title, but already back at base in Turin, the future of the team was off the drawing board and very close to running. Under the guidance of longtime team boss Cesare Fiorio, Lancia's development of its Group B car pressed on apace, and in the autumn of 1985, Lancia launched the Delta S4, technically the most advanced of the new generation of rally cars. Featuring both superchargers and turbochargers, the engines were revolutionary. The rest of the car too bore only the slenderest likeness to the Delta road car from which it took its name. The tube frame chassis and aerospace quality body and componentry were the best available, as was the driving squad. The likes of Miki Biasion, Marco Alén and Henri Toivonen were drafted into the tight-knit Italian team, giving the top drivers the very best cars to work with and some of the best technical support anywhere. Overseen by Fiorio and right-hand man Giorgio Pianta and led by the resourceful Nino Russo, Lancia Martini mechanics strived hard to make the cars work, and their rewards were immediate. The drivers were on the pace from the word go, Henri Toivonen winning the car's first event, Britain's Lombard RAC Rally. Miki Biasion and co-driver Tiziano Severo, feeling the strain of an early start, were the Italian element of the very cosmopolitan driving team. Finland's Marco Alén, in his 13th year with Lancia Fiat, had regular co-driver Ilkka Kivimäki alongside him. Henri Toivonen was the third Finn in the squad, co-driven by Italy's Sergio Cresta, while Swedish newcomers Michael Eriksson and Kleis Billström made up the full driving complement. But Lancia was far from alone in the hunt for Group B success. Ford's new RS200 was slow off the mark but catching up fast, while Peugeot's 205 Turbo 16 was right on the pace under all conditions. Against these cars, the Delta S4 ranged itself, and if the Lancia with its wings and spoilers looked little like a road car, then what of Audi's Sport Quattro S2? Perhaps the ultimate example of engineering trying to control pure brute force. Different though they appeared from the outside, one thing united the Group B cars. Like Formula One cars, they were the ultimate in every way. The fastest, the most powerful, the strongest, the lightest, the best able to accelerate, corner and brake. Here truly was the pinnacle of the sport. And didn't they look every inch the part? Henri Toivonen's dream debut with the Lancia Delta helped to endear him even further to rally fans the world over. When it came down to pure speed, Henri was really in a class of his own. One of the most liked and approachable of drivers, his victory on the Monte Carlo Rally in January '86 looked to have set him firmly on the way to a championship year. But fate decided otherwise. Henri tragically lost his life in Corsica, killed in the cars he so loved to drive. Ironically, it was the accident that claimed Toivonen's life and others like it, which first started to spell the end for Group B rallying. Midway through the 1986 season, already the writing was on the wall. But the spectacle continued. These fabulous cars extracted a great deal from their drivers. Lancia's long-serving Marco Allen, as fluent in Italian as his native Finnish, was always a focal point in the service area, advising, cajoling, extracting the same total performance from the crew as he did from himself and from his car. For Kiki Kivimaki, his co-driver, a moment to relax as he supervises the work. And finally, for Marku too, the attentions of the team physio on his weary body as he tries to prepare himself for his battle with the car on the next stage.
Sì, col portatile Nini non gioco piatto perché sono un po' più in giù. Va bene così. Io sempre muso. Guardami il tempo che brutta, con subito tanti curva. Piano uno, primo. Benzina 40. Non attaccate il quadro, eh?
Of all the rallies in the World Championship calendar, the most demanding is the Safari. Despite the debut of the Delta S4 the previous November, Lancia took its less complex 037 Rally to Africa for the 1986 Safari, where it enjoyed mixed fortunes on an event traditionally not kind to Italian cars. Nicky Biasian, on his first trip to Africa, was as high as third before losing an alternator belt and then suffering head gasket failure. Early in the event, Marco Allen bruised his wrist. While driving with a torch held out of the window after a battery failure left his Lancia without any lights at all at night, the Finn put a car onto its side and was still able to continue. As committed as ever, Marco on maximum attack. He drove the entire Easter Endurance Classic as if it was a European sprint event. But somehow the Lancia lasted, and Allen celebrated a third-place finish. Being a part of the Lancia team was always an emotional yet rewarding experience. Drivers like Sweden's Kalle Brundle brought new languages to the already cosmopolitan mix. And so one of the prime means of communication among team members was with sign language. Perhaps there's a little of the Italian in us all. For these spectators and millions like them from the Arctic Circle to the Antipodes, Group B rallying was the ultimate attraction. The thrill of watching the world's top stars fighting with the most challenging machinery was the biggest draw. Technology, speed, power and skill, all welded successfully into perhaps the greatest show on earth.